Alright, here we go. Prehistoric art. What we're talking about during this time period is basically a lot of things that we know come from artifacts. We don't necessarily have writings. That's why we call it prehistoric or prehistory, written history. Now at the end of this, there is written history within the Egyptians, within some of the Samaritans, but we kind of get to where it's more artifacts that we know about their culture. We first have to understand kind of the timeline of history here. We're going to start about 40,000 BC. That is about the time that we start seeing things made by humans, or at least we have found things made by humans. Or at least we think they're made by humans. Whether you believe in God, whether you believe in not believe in God, that's where we're starting. So, as I like to classify this time period, it's between 40,000 and 8,000 BC. As I like to classify it as I like rocks era. Okay? Or I hunt. Basically, these people were hunters or gatherers. They had to fend for themselves for food. The next time period, we get into where people all of a sudden start to realize, oh wait, instead of chasing after these animals this whole time, I could tame them, keep them in a herd, and therefore slaughter them for when I need meat, and that type of deal. And I can actually start to grow things myself and harvest them and save them. That way it's not one of those things where, oh, I'm hungry, now I have to go kill something, and it might take me a few weeks. Right? And so with that, we're going to stay in between those two periods for today. Tomorrow we're going to hit all the others. It looks like a lot, but don't worry about that. This is more so you get the understanding of the big picture of what's happening in the world. So, first item that we're going to talk about is one of the oldest items in the world. The Venus of Willendorf. In your sheet, or on your sheet, you're going to write this in the art piece. You're going to write Venus of Willendorf. For some reason my iPad is screwy. I won't show this correctly for some reason, but you're going to write Venus of Willendorf. Who created it is the Paleolithic people. So if you need to spell Paleolithic, it's up here. That is going to be the artist.
Wait, so who's the artist? I'm so confused. Paleolithic. Oh,
okay, so Paleolithic people. This is made out of limestone. Yes, this is the object. Famous piece is Venus of Willendorf. The next thing, what it's made of is limestone. Now, the next two boxes for all of these things, you're going to have to fill in your own. What's going to happen is at the end of the semester, I'm going to have you hand in your sketchbook. All 4 sheets should be filled out. As you notice, there's points in there. It's going to be about 140 points that you're going to have that you should have easily just by filling in each thing. So you should get 140 out of 140. Now let's talk about this for a second. When we look at this doll, I want you to, at your tables, take about 30 seconds. There's a few things. What few things are exaggerated, and why are they exaggerated? Go ahead at your table, take 30 seconds. Talk about it. Why are they exaggerated? Very specific reasons. Okay, raise your hand, give me one. And why? What's exaggerated and why? Shoot for 3 things here, 3 main things. Just go ahead and say it. You know you want to say it, yes.
Alright, the boobs, they're big.
The breasts are big. Why would they be exaggerated?
Because when you are first born, that's the first thing you actually grasp.
Yeah. Exactly, that's what they grasp. That's how they're fed, too.
Yeah.
When you're pregnant, the breasts enlarge. If you didn't know it, that's what happens. It's what happens to all of you, or how's this? All you females if you have a baby. Alright, so you need to know that if you didn't know it. Okay? With that, we got breasts, they're enlarged. Okay, so for being pregnant. What else? What's exaggerated? What's that? Stomach? Did I hear stomach? Why?
The baby.
Baby, what else? What's that? Why would they be big, other than being pregnant? Yeah, you eat a lot. You're well fed, right? Well fed. What else is exaggerated? What's that? Her head. What you guys don't realize is, looking at that, that's actually curly hair. A bunch of curly hair, stylized curly hair. It's kind of going over the face. Here's why it is curly. What you guys may not realize, there are certain instincts, certain impulses that you don't even think about, that just certain things happen. Back in the day, a person with full hair, specifically full curly hair, if you saw a woman or a man saw a woman who had full hair, that one meant they were healthy. If you think about it, people who get sick start to lose their hair. So a person with full hair meant they were healthy. Curly hair was a sign of fertility, that that woman was very much would be able to have babies and kids. It's not necessarily the case now, but it still is that fact. So when people were searching for mates, that was something that was desired. A woman with full hair, full curly hair. All right? When we think about all of this, there's certain reasons why they're exaggerated. What this is actually called is a fertility doll. You're going to need to write that down in the vocab section. That's very top, or not top line, but right above the grid. Fertility doll. This is a fertility doll. Or you can put it in the described part. Fertility doll. This was basically used, or I want you to think about it. Why would they have this doll carved? What's that?
Like an amulet?
Amulet? As in something that's like superstitious or lucky? Yeah. Almost to where, if you think about it, one of the most important things was to them was reproduction. And that's how their species was going to survive. Have you ever seen Ice Age where they lose the baby? And they're like, there goes our future. Okay? And so that was why it was very important. So this is a very important doll. People would make these fertility dolls and carry them around if it's a superstition, almost in a way a religious type of deal. So that's the first object. Make sure you fill out those other two boxes. By the way, the purpose, the underlying reason, is going to be very important when it comes to the exam time. Next one, Lexicon Cave, made in France, again by the Paleolithic people. These are cave paintings.
What's it called?
Say it again.
What's it called?
The Lexicon Cave. Lexicon Cave. By the Paleolithic people. Alright, with this, what happened was, we didn't actually know about these caves until about 100 years ago. Two boys in Paris, or not Paris, but in France, were walking along. It's actually Lexicon, France. And they had this dog, and they were throwing a rock for the dog to go fetch. All of a sudden they threw the rock and the dog disappeared. So they went looking for it. Found this dog in a hole. They realized this hole kept going. And it turned into these massive, massive caves. About 3 times the size of this school. Very intricately woven. And so they went in there and they realized, oh my gosh, there are just a ton of cave paintings over the years. This was made about 15,000 BC. It was undiscovered for about 17,000 years. One of the cool things was most cave paintings are deteriorated. But because no one knew about this and it was so sealed up, the temperature, the humidity, everything like that preserved it. So they opened this up once they found it. They were like, oh, this is awesome. We want the public to see it. About 1900 they did this. In 1936 they closed it. Because all of a sudden you have different changes of temperature, different humidity. What do you think what started to happen?
It started falling apart.
Yeah, corroding. The pigments started to fall off, so they closed it again. There's actually online now a virtual reality tour through these caves. It's pretty cool. I mean, they're just crazy up and down. It's not like the movie caves where it's like perfect, but it's up and down. You wonder how they actually painted and how in the dark they actually did these things. The hands. This is one of the first times we actually see a human signature. First times ever. at least the earliest. Because before that, we just found objects. You know, technically people could have said, oh, it's made by aliens or made by animals, whatever. But we know this is a human. How they actually did this, those handprints, is by pigment, dirt, or elements or minerals in the ground. They would put it in their mouth. Put it in their mouth. And they would wash it around, and all of a sudden they put their hand down and go boom. That's how they created this type of spray paint, in a way. So that's how they did those type of deals. If we look, there are a ton of animals. Let's go here. All right. What kind of animals do we have here? Horses, bulls.
Pig.
Okay, we got down in the right corner,
Deer.
deer. All right. These were in a way what the animals that they hunted. They actually found, when they were looking at a lot of these, chip marks in them. Like little parts of the rock missing. What do you think that was from?
I think they hunted them.
They hunted them. So what were they doing? Leave it.
Representing the,
Counting.
representing the,
Counting, representing?
do you want me to get it?
No, leave it.
See how many they got.
Seeing how many they got. Specifically, right about here, here, and here.
Where they shot them.
They shot them. They were practicing. And in a way, they were teaching. Because they had their kids coming up, they didn't have animals to practice on. But they had these paintings. And so they would teach where exactly they should be shooting. So it was used for education in a way too. Again, these are large, large paintings. Like 18 feet long. Very, very big paintings. So pretty cool deal. If we think about it, they were used for, you know, teaching, but also in a way of religious things. They would paint these sometimes before they went hunting. In a very, how's this, lucky, same way as the doll, superstitious way. Next piece, then we'll move on. All right, make sure you fill out the rest of those boxes. Stonehenge, again, my Prezi is showing up weird on the iPad. Stonehenge, you've probably seen this before. This is instead of the Paleolithic, it's done by the Neolithic, the people who started to settle. I'm going to show you, by the way, it's just stone. It's just stone. With this, each one of these rocks is about 50 tons, or 100,000 pounds. The actual place that they got these was about 24 miles away. This is also before the wheel. And so what happened with this is they would actually have, they calculated probably about 150 people dragging these stones to this place. And they set it up. There's a circle on the inside, a circle on the outside. There was a table or tabernacle in the middle. And then if you look to the next one, there's almost this ditch around it, in a way. Here's the kind of deal about why they actually did it. If you look at these little stones right here, a lot of people thought it was witchcraft, a lot of people thought it was, you know, aliens, that type of deal. But what they realized is these little markers right here, that when the summer solstice, the sun rose, they realized it came right exactly where those rocks were. And it created a certain line within the center. So what is it doing?
I don't know.
Telling time or a calendar. Why would they need that?
Because they don't have any other way.
To know when to farm. To know when to farm. They needed to know, it's because of the Neolithic people that started to plant. They needed to know, hey, it's time to plant. Or, hey, it's too early. If we plant now, it's going to freeze the crops and we're not going to have anything. So they needed to know when to plant, when to harvest. So this was basically used for that purpose. So if we look at the few things that we have touched base on right now, reproduction was huge. Food, huge. And now, farming was a big deal. That's what I want you to see is those were the things that were important to these people at that time.